I asked ChatGPT to help me build a traditional Greek house. This idea has been sitting for a while until I realized help was one text away. Well, kinda help. From now on, we'll call ChatGPT Geppetto. So I asked Geppetto to create a floor plan based on some requirements like having a second floor, being made out of stone and having a yard while staying at a budget of 70k in-game money. The plan I got was a 10 by 10 house, but there were fails. Fails like the entry door not matching with the one at the front view of the house. Yeah, so I told him to do this again but ended with the same plan.
Bruh.
Also, I realized that the numbers don't add up, like the kitchen would be 3 by 3 blocks and the living room would be 4 by 4, which makes 7 blocks in total. So I created my own floor plan, which is an 11 by 10 house. I know, it's so beautiful. Since Geppetto didn't specify what material the inside walls would be, I decided to make them out of stone and create an old yet so aesthetic house. Too bad I can't have my graphics higher or else my laptop will blow up. Comment if you want a tour with high graphics and I'll find a way to do it. It will be so amazing to watch. So after painting all the walls and floors, it was time to start decorating the living room. Fun fact, back in old times, at least in Greece, open concept wasn't a thing. Yeah, I know, shocking. The living room usually was a separate locked room, which was open only on days like Christmas. But our story for this house is different. Here lives a doctor with his wife and son. He is a very revolutionary man who respects his wife and treats her like a queen instead of an animal. And also he loves his son so much that he lets him go to the living room and do whatever, even if it's not holidays. More about the doctor's life later. For now, I have to talk to you about the actual house. For the living room, I added some simple furniture in cream colors to resemble the old times. Added some shelves because, hello, doctor! And then moved to the dining room. For the entrance of the dining room, I decided to go with an arch. Little did I know how hard it would be to add my own wall trims. I don't know why Roblox Recorder doesn't show my inventory, but I was looking at the tables and found the perfect one for when having people over. I don't know if dining rooms were a thing back then. Probably. But my friend Geppetto told me to add one, so I will do it. Do whatever your AI friend says. Also, you will notice I'm using stoves for heat instead of a fireplace or something like that. You won't expect it, but back then people were poor. Not now we're rich. And only a few rooms had heat. Those rooms usually were one bedroom, if there was a second one, the room connected with a kitchen and a living room. That's it. They had to get really creative to stay warm during the winter. For the kitchen, I tried to keep it simple as I tend to modernize my houses. Comment below if you want to see me modernize this house. Don't forget to actually have rules to make it a challenge, like keeping some walls, windows or anything you guys may come up with. I'm open for anything. I painted the counters in kind of the same cream color I used before to keep it simple and old theme, while I also used this pathetic fridge. I also had to fight my urge to use my favorite modern sink, but I used a simple one and changed the material to stone to try and match the rest of the house. In the end, I was left with some empty space I didn't know what to do with, so I asked my mom what they used to have in the kitchens back then. As she wasn't able to remember, I decided to add a simple everyday dining table for our doctor and his family to eat together. Finally, the kitchen was done and I moved on to the basement. Another fact about older Greece is that basements weren't exactly below ground. What do I mean by that? Their basements were only a few steps lower than the rest of the house, like 3 steps or so. In there they used to store their wine, as back then people used to produce their own stuff instead of spending tons of money on huge profit-only caring companies. It was really hard to make this work, as I wanted the basement to be 1 block lower than the rest of the house, so walls had to be 2 blocks high. The problem? The vault walls are 3 blocks high, so I actually had to use basic shapes for everything: the floor, the walls, and the roof. At the time I was so tired by the recording process, so I ended up leaving the basement for later and moved on to the second floor. First thing you will notice is that before I started decorating the office, I actually deleted the bathroom. And that's because after talking to my mom about some things, it reminded me that back then, both the kitchen and the bathroom were separated buildings outside of the actual house. Let's say I already knew this, but still trusted Geppetto with my life. I tried my best to decorate the space beautifully while at the same time keeping a serious vibe, as a professional works here. So first thing on my mind was bookshelves. That's why I started with these display ones so he can flex his books. However, this plan didn't work, so I had to come up with a new one. I decided to go with dark brown as the main color to give the vibes that I wanted. A serious yet caring man. Talking of which, I think it's time I finish what I started. So these 3 people are actually real characters from a book I read. The doctor's name is Yanis, his wife is Evgenia, and his son is Kostis. As this book isn't translated to other languages, I'll spoil it for you. Our story takes place in Chios back in 1821. If you are familiar with Greek history, you'll actually know that Greece back then was under the Turkish yoke. Yeah, we weren't a free country. And Zanis lived back then as a general doctor who treated leprosy patients. He met Evgenia before the date I told you, but keep it in mind. Her father needed a doctor and he went to their house only to see her and fall in love with her. They started dating, going out, hiding like teenagers, living their love at its fullest. Though Zanis always respected Evgenia and never forced her to do something more. They got married and Evgenia got pregnant immediately. But things started to fall apart when she was around 8 or 9 months pregnant. Zanis had to go to his office, which by the way wasn't in the house like I did it, and he advised his wife to stay home and rest. But obviously she didn't listen and went out to pay him a visit. In the way she took the wrong turn and found herself at the neighborhood she didn't recognize, a poor one. As she was trying to find out where to go, she slipped and passed out, only for a woman with leprosy to see her fall. We'll call her Shannon and her husband Bill, as I don't remember their actual names, and if I open the book, I'll actually start crying. Both of them are Turkish with no bad intentions considering the general situation. Shannon tried her best not to touch Evgenia while dragging her inside. After a while, she woke up only to realize it was time to give birth. At that moment, Bill also came home and Evgenia told him to go find her husband. Bill rushed outside the house to go find him and Evgenia asked for Shannon's help. She hesitated at first and instead of telling the truth about her infection, she put on gloves and went to help her. Bill took 2 whole hours to finally find Zani, who panicked followed Bill to his house. When they got there, Shannon went in her room and fell asleep, while Zanis helped his wife bring their son to life. She successfully gave birth and while Zanis was outside getting ready to leave, Evgenia went in Shannon's room to thank her. She sat on the side of the bed and touched her forehead when she actually noticed what the spots on her body are and rushed out. Zanis thanked Bill and told him that he owes him a favor. Back in their home, Evgenia was acting weird. She didn't want to touch the baby nor talk to anyone. And that was the only time when Zanis got a bit harsh on her, demanding the truth. Because, as I told you, he loved his wife. That's why I actually created the space for her. Because I know for a fact that if this was their actual house, Zanis would have done the same. After finding out what had happened and calmed his wife down, he asked to see Bill in his office. Bill came, they talked it out, and then asked for the favor for his wife to enter the leprosarium. Janice refused and told him the best he could do was treat her at home, as he knew medicine was barely enough for the Greeks, not to mention an extra person. Bill got mad as propaganda claimed there were more than enough medicines, but Greeks kept them for themselves and got out of the office. Fast forward 8 months later, Janice and Eugenia baptized their child. But what seemed like a great day ended horribly when the next morning Eugenia noticed she had the same spots as Shannon's. Janice was devastated and had no other choice but to get his wife to the leprosarium. 8 years passed. 8 years where Janice was growing up his son all alone with the help of the rest of the family. He never touched his wife again. Only the few moments he visited the place to take care of all the patients was he able to see her, but only while wearing the necessary equipment. You see, Eugenia didn't want him to also get infected, even though he was claiming that he had become immune to the infection after so many years of treating leprosy patients. Bill heard about the news and visited Janice to inform him that Shannon has died and he wanted to take revenge. We are now in 1822. The revolution had already begun in some parts of Greece, and the friend who Eugenia had made during those years in the leprosarium found out from her Turkish boyfriend that the Turks will invade Chios the next day, urging her to run away together with him. She told Eugenia all about it, but afterwards she got sick with fever. That's when Janice grabbed the opportunity and claimed that he needed to stay for the night to keep an eye on her. But our genius man knew there was nothing worrying about her, and he just couldn't stand being separated from his wife any longer. He waited for Eugenia in her room, where they had an amazing night after so many years. She told him what her friend has told her about the invasion, and Janice thought that the Turks would be afraid of the leprosarium and that it would be a great idea to bring their son there, as all he wanted was to see his family back together. He thought. First thing in the morning he left the leprosarium to go get their son, but after he left, a team of Turks with Bill in charge invaded it and set it on fire in his attempt to find Eugenia and finally get his revenge on Janice. Eugenia managed to hide with some of her other infected friends, and for now she had survived. In the meantime, Janice arrived at a place on horseback with his son, only to see that it had completely caught fire. Although he was certain that his wife had survived, so he left to go find her and ended at a place with thousands of people waiting to leave by boat. As they needed food, he left his son Kostis with a map, and along with 2 other men they set off on their horses to look for supplies. Eugenia, on the other hand, managed to get to a mountain Janice knew about in hopes that he would find her. Little did she know she wouldn't see him again. On his way to find food, he came across Bill. He was furious. He ended up killing the other 2 men and left Janice for last. A few seconds later, Janice's head was on the ground. Bill took the head and went to the direction Janice came from. He dropped the head down and grabbed everyone's attention in hopes to find Eugenia and kill her too. But instead, Kostis came and grabbed his dad's head, not leaving it a second. Bill seized the opportunity and took the boy with him while giving commands to his men to get rid of everyone else. That day, so many people died. After some time, a girl who Janice had helped her mom give birth found Kostis and helped him escape. She owed him, as without Janice she wouldn't be alive. Kostis was way more mature than he should, as we are talking about an 8-year-old boy, and he was in genuine love with a girl a bit younger than him. Now the 3 of them went to find Eugenia. They managed to find her, as the older girl thought of the same mountain Eugenia did. When Eugenia saw her child, she rushed to grab him in her arms. But when she realized that he was holding the head of her husband, she lost all hope. She took it and jumped down the cliff with her husband's now cold head in her arms, leaving her son all alone. As she was still infected with leprosy, she would not be able to take actual care of her child. Now the 3 kids had to leave the island to survive. Kostis and the older girl managed to get on a boat together, but his girl wasn't able to get on one. Only Christians had a chance to get on the boats after saying a prayer out loud to prove their faith. But the little girl didn't know any prayers. She was around 6 years old after all. Finally, the book ends describing how all of them are in separated boats, hoping for a better future. Have you cried yet? Because I for sure did. And while also writing the script. It's been almost 2 years since I read this book, and I still feel broken when thinking about Sunny's death. He would be the best doctor, the best man, and the best father. All he wanted was his family together, but never managed to do it. It breaks me so much every time I remember what happened to him. I think you noticed that I added a desk on his son's bedroom. I'm sure that he loved him so much that he would get him and his wife, of course, the best of the best. Beautiful with green eyes. Don't remember the hair color. Bruh. I really need to change the subject or I'll burst into tears again. Comment below your thoughts about the book. Also, please do comment Janice with red hearts to show some love for this man. Now, let's just say that men like him taught me what love is, and my standards are really high this time. Read books, girls, expect nothing less. Alright, the house is done, let's go for a tour. Starting off, we have a tiny front yard which leads to the actual house. First thing you see when actually going inside are the stairs and the dining room. On the left, it's the living room with lots and lots of books along with family photos. Next, let's head to the basement. Simple decoration with some of more special items on the shelves like the hats on the top, along with some wine barrels. Now the dining room where 8 people can eat together and also have fun. Or you can go to the kitchen where our 3 beloved characters can finally eat together as a family. Now let's go upstairs to the office. This is where Janice does all the paperwork. I mean, you can clearly see it from all the books. Now his son's room, Kostis. Some books to read on his desk, an expensive bed, and a walk-in closet. Oh! And a balcony because Janice loves his family and wants the best for them. Now the master bedroom. Inside here we have a boudoir for Viennese beauty time and a double bed for our couple to finally sleep together every night. Next we have a balcony yet again, looking at the front of the house. Some extra books because why not? And a walk-in closet yet again. Now let's go downstairs to see the backyard and the bathroom. So here it is, simple yet effective with the necessary crops to feed the family. Last but not least, the bathroom. Simply decorated with some shelves for storage. Wait, I didn't like how plain the yard was. Yeah, that's so much better and less plain. Okay guys, Geppetto actually did help me build this, especially when decorating, as I took some of his ideas like the corner plants and the cream colored furniture. The story of Janice has completely shattered my heart once again, but he will always hold a special place in it, as he is a really beloved man and deserves the best of the best. That was it for today. Comment your thoughts about the video and how you felt about the story. Maybe I'll do this again in the future with a different one. For now, bye!